Am I the a-hole for leaving the hospital after my fiancé told me to pay the bill? For context, me female 26 and my fiancé male 28 have been together for 3 years. Finances are split till after marriage and we have equally paying jobs. He doesn't pay when we eat out. He doesn't pay for any fixes in our rental apartment. It also doesn't help with furniture and stuff. I tried to have conversation about how I'm always supposed to foot the bill for almost everything. His excuse is that he's been saving for a new apartment, been saving up for 2 years now. But he still has half of his salary, which he uses on himself and buys gadgets and gaming stuff. When I tried to argue about it, he'd say it's his money after all and remind me of how he's saving up to buy an apartment for us. Days ago, he called me and asked that I take him to the hospital to treat his ankle. It's been hurting him for weeks, but only now he decided to get it checked. I drove him there since he was in pain, but was surprised when he told me to pay the bill. I asked him why not him, and he brought up the new apartment he's been saving up for again. I had it, especially after he threatened to not add my name to the new apartment's title if I refused to help him out. I snapped and told him to pay for himself and stop using my money with the apartment excuse. Then I left. He had to pay but was furious, saying I'd let him down in his time of struggle. Also said that my attitude isn't partner material. I told him I felt like he was using the new apartment to spend my money, but he said I had no empathy or sense of responsibility to support and help him out when he is doing me a huge favor and buying me an entire freaking apartment. He's calling me selfish and negative. I don't know. I feel guilty for doing this and now he's avoiding me entirely. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You are being used. 100% when he has enough money for the apartment, he dumps you. Stop footing the bill. Leave him. There is no savings account. That's what I thought. If he was expecting me to foot the bill on a bunch of stuff that should be shared, I'd want to see the balance of the account on a regular basis. Or at the very least have a signed contract of some sort saying she gets to be on the title, or gets a cash payout in the event he doesn't end up buying an apartment / doesn't put her on the title. Not the a-hole. He is just using you and your money and probably plans to dump you once he buys the apartment. Totally agree. Came to say this. He's using you for your money and not contributing to household expenses. I'd freaking run. Not the a-hole. I doubt he'll buy a place. He has someone paying all his bills, / cleaning up after him, / fun adult activity, / cooking. He isn't leaving unless she cuts him off and throws him out, and there will never be a marriage. Next story. Am I the a-hole for turning off my husband's alarm? Me 31 and my husband 35 both work from home. His start time is 8:30 and the work he does essentially timestamps what he does. He also has a micromanaging boss. On occasion, he may have to go into the office to perform on-site work. My start time is 8 a.m. and the work I do is very independent and at my own pace, and my boss could care less to track my every move as long as my deadlines are met. My husband sets his alarm at 7 a.m. every day, even though he admits he doesn't want to be up until 8:15 at the earliest. But he never wakes up to it. But the rest of us hear it, so my toddler and I usually wake up about 45 minutes earlier than we need to as a result. I've asked him to stop setting it so early, and he said he needs the whole hour of snoozing to wake up. So, he's been on a couch lately, but I still wake up to it from there and have to snooze it every 15 minutes. I'm currently 6 months pregnant, so this morning I was exhausted and didn't want our toddler waking up earlier than needed and wanted the extra sleep myself, so I turned it off. But it was too late. Our toddler already woke up to it, so I got up then got busy with our toddler. Our toddler went to daycare around 8:15. My parents pick up. At 8:27, I realized the time, so I went to wake my husband up and told him I must have accidentally hit off instead of snooze on your alarm when I was tired, but it's almost 8:30. You should get up. And I went about my business working. I took a break and came downstairs to find him asleep at 9:47 a.m. And I jolted him and said, "You're still asleep? It's almost 10. And he said, "No effing way," and ran to his laptop. He told me to stop turning his alarm off and basically don't touch it unless I hit snooze. Thing is, he goes to sleep almost every night around 2 a.m., so he's not gonna wake up to a 7 a.m. alarm 9 out of 10 times. Instead, I always wake up to it and have the task of hitting snooze every 15 minutes anyway. Yes, I technically lied to him about his alarm, but I am literally tired of this, and I did make sure to wake him up on time. Or so I thought. Am I the a-hole? Stop waking him up. Stop waking him up this minute. This is not your job. There are 50 different devices he could use to wake himself up. Or he could just grow the F up and do it himself. I repeat, this is not your job and it is not your responsibility. He needs to manage his own business without disturbing his family. He needs to be an adult and a father. Not the a-hole, but you will be if you enable this anymore. This makes sense in theory, but in practice, it leaves OP and the child still get woken up by the alarm before he intends to wake up. Yeah, my husband was a chronic snooze pusher too, but is also a decent man. So when I told him that as soon as the alarm goes off, I'm up no matter what and can't go back to sleep, he stopped freaking doing it. OP's husband is a tool and should grow the heck up and go to bed earlier, like an adult with a wife and child. Not the a-hole, but if it's waking up the toddler, just have the toddler jump on top of him until he wakes up. He'll stop waking the toddler up early after that. I can tell you this will backfire greatly and just end up with an angry husband and a wife who has to deal with him yelling about not keeping the toddler out of the room. I try it occasionally. Oh no, if my husband yelled at me because his actions have consequences, he would not be my husband for very long. Not the a-hole. Snoozing your alarm for 45 minutes is ridiculously rude when there are other people who can hear it. You've obviously already spoken to him about it because he was on a couch. That clearly wasn't enough. If you and your toddler are both waking up to this alarm, it's an issue. Also, why are you the only one getting up in the morning with a toddler? Especially pregnant, you should be able to trade off with him, or you both get up. Am I the a-hole for not withdrawing my job application for the sake of my brother? I have an older brother who does not work by choice. Literally the most educated, smartest man I've ever known. He's just lazy. It's literally been years, and has been neck-bearding in our parents' basement while I'm busting my ass at school. I took out loans, and when I graduate, I'm expected to pay them back. Hence why I need a job on top of having to pay for other living expenses. My brother has never paid a penny for his education. My parents in their own name took out loans for him. Lately, my dad's been getting on his butt about getting a job, but my brother's been brushing him off. I was given a tip to apply to this really lucrative graduate program. It's not in my field whatsoever, but it's paid training. Really well paid. And I put in an application. I told my mom about it and she asked for the link to the program. I sent it without giving it a second thought and I got an interview. Now, when I told my mom about it, she asked me to withdraw my application so that I can give my brother a chance to apply. I said, what? He's had literal years to apply. This is my opportunity, even if it's not in my field. There's no guarantee that I'm going to get it anyway, but I want to at least try. I need a job and I don't ever want to be financially dependent on my family. I want a life of my own, and I feel like them asking me to withdraw my application from consideration is sabotaging my future for the sake of their golden child. I've always been put on the back burner for the sake of my brother, and they feel that is his opportunity to have since it's his field. But 1, I have no idea if he applied, and 2, I don't think he'd be allowed to apply because it's a new grad program, and he has not been a new grad in years. I don't plan to withdraw my application, but everyone in my family is telling me I'm being selfish. I've been banned from Thanksgiving, and I came home yesterday to find my mom converting my room into an office for my brother. My aunt has been bombarding me with texts telling me I'm not being considerate of family. My friends are mostly on my side, except one said she sees my parents' point of view. But I don't know. Family friends I see on public won't even look at me anymore. Over an interview. It's mad. Am I the a-hole for not giving my brother this opportunity? Not the a-hole. Their request is nonsensical, and your family appears to be smoking some wacky tobacco. Get the job and put your career trajectory on an onwards and upwards path and never look back. And when those mooches call wanting money and favors, go, new phone, who's this? Not the a-hole. Remind all the people in your family that are upset over this that you, unlike your brother, have school loans to pay. Jeez. Why is your family so lopsided in their support of their kids? Is your brother expected to care for your parents financially in their retirement? Unfortunately, that responsibility will fall to the girl in the family, aka me, the only girl in my Asian family. No, it won't, because you don't actually have to. When you are old, do you want to be begging and relying on your kids? No? Stop the cycle and mind your own finances, especially given the way they've been treating you. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my step-siblings I only help people I care about, which doesn't include them? My dad and his wife blended their family 7 years ago. Me, 16 male, and my brother, 13 male, come from our parents' marriage. Our mom died 9 years ago. Beth, 15 female, Luke, 14 male, and Laura, 12 female, come from dad's wife's first marriage. My dad and his wife also have Katie, 5 female together. I have a pretty complicated history with learning disability. I was diagnosed before my mom died and always struggled with school, reading, and writing. I used tech to help me write stuff like this. I can speak fine, but actually reading or writing anything, including numbers, is terrifying to me. It's something that has meant I need a lot of extra help in school. My mom used to read stuff like menus out to me. My brother actually started doing it when he got better at reading too. It's something I can't hide, and it's embarrassing as hell. It's something my step-siblings have made fun of since forever. Beth made a really hurtful comment the first time she realized, and her mom corrected her. But since she and her siblings were not happy with her mom meeting my dad, and since I would do things differently, like I never did homework at home, they would tease me and taunt me behind their mom's back. I spoke up a few times, and it got corrected pretty hard. Eventually, it got to the point where I no longer saw the point of saying anything. Around that time, it got to the point where I would tell my friends to pretend my step-siblings weren't part of my family or my life, because I didn't want them to be. I got my license over the summer and got permission to drive my dad's car. I've been bringing my brother places sometimes, and suddenly my step-siblings have been trying to be nice to me. I ignore them. I say no to bringing them places. A few days ago, Beth wanted to go to this dance practice related to the dance classes she does. Her mom couldn't take her because she's sick. My dad wasn't around either. My dad's car was at home though, so she asked me to bring her. I said no. She followed me around begging and I kept saying no. Luke and Laura joined in and they said we're family, and family should do things for each other, and how I never help them out. I told them I only help people I care about, and it doesn't include them. Their mom overheard, and once my dad got home, they told me what I said was really unfair and cruel. They took away my ability to drive the car. Dad wanted me to apologize and say I didn't mean it. But I did, and I can see they all think I'm wrong for that. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Sit down with your dad and stepmom at a time when you guys can discuss alone and emotions aren't high, and explain your reasoning and how you feel. Your stepmom needs to understand the depth of hurt that your step-siblings have inflicted on you over the years. Because right now, they probably just view it as a typical step-sibling arguments. This has been discussed in depth before. My brother got in some trouble about 3 years ago for locking Beth and Luke in a room while Laura was at a friend's house and the adults were busy. When Dad found out, he was furious and explained why my brother had done it. We ended up in therapy with Dad and his wife, and the whole thing was dragged out there, including them saying we shouldn't stop caring about them because of the stuff that was happening, and how they would deal with it and our step-siblings would grow. For me, I never started to care about them, and I told them that and why. But I think they dismiss it because we're all still kids, even knowing the stuff that has been said. They see it as they will grow up and will be close as adults, but I don't ever want to be family with them. And I don't know how many more times I can tell them all the stuff that has happened and why I feel like I do. I see it as pointless by now. If it's been a few years since you've discussed it in depth, it might be worth a shot again now that you're a bit older. Otherwise, your parents really suck for not hearing you out. Either way, I'm sorry you have to go through this. It's not fair to you no matter what. The parents are probably still holding on with both hands on the dream of perfect blended family. Yeah, they are. I know they think it can still happen. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad he is a bad father? My 14 female mom passed away about 8 months ago. She got very sick a few years ago, and eventually her body couldn't handle it anymore. Her and my dad had been divorced since I was 5. After the funeral, I moved in with my dad, 40 male, stepmom Jane, 39 female, and 2 stepsisters Alex and Sophie, 12 female and 13 female. To be frank, we've never gotten along. Jane has tried to replace my mother numerous times, even refusing to let me go back to my mom's house one weekend because I wouldn't call her mom. She's always been like this, forcing me to hang out with my stepsisters, take family photos, call them family, do family game night and so on. And ever since my mom died, she's gotten worse. Recently, she started to refer me as her daughter at family functions. None of my mom's side of the family likes her. Last night, Jane had friends over. I came home at around 7 because I had practice after school. My dad told me to come and say hello to everyone even though I didn't want to, but I did it to make him happy. When I walked into the living room, Jane jumped up and gave me a huge hug, which got awkward really fast. She turned around and said to her friends, "This is Opie, mine and Dad's name's first daughter." I stopped her and said, "No, you're my stepmom, not my mom." Everyone was silent, and my dad told me I needed to come with him. He took me to my room, which I shared with my stepsisters, and asked me what I was doing. I said that Jane wasn't my mother, so I wouldn't refer her as such. He started yelling at me about being ungrateful, spoiled, and a selfish brat for not accepting that this was my new family now. I started crying and yelled that he was a bad father, and that this was his new family. They never would be mine. I guess Jane heard our yelling because she ran into the room and told me that she was my mom, and the other woman didn't matter anymore because she's dead. I'm staying with my grandparents, mom's side, because Jane kicked me out, and I'm starting to feel guilty for not being more open. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your mother may have passed, but she's still your mom. And it's wildly inappropriate not only of your stepmother to refer to you as her daughter without clearing that with you first, but even more so of your father to have such little regard and respect for your feelings that he would go off on you for correcting her. It might be for the best if you speak with your grandparents to see if they're willing to take over as your guardians for the time being, because it sounds like your father might not be mentally or emotionally mature enough to be doing so at this time. I agree. Plus, the stepmom is only connected to the OP via marriage. The minute the marriage ends via death or death, the stepmom is no one to her. Not the a-hole. Come on. You think you were too harsh for yelling at the woman who told you your mother doesn't matter anymore because she's dead? Really? OP is also 14 and probably still mourning, so maybe they don't deserve to be helped that way.